trends, and policies that are disrupting the SME space in South Asia. Today, we are hosting a pretty unique and exciting event where subject matter experts from different part of India are going to roast Kernel, and that's why we call it roast session. And you, as subject matter experts, as jury members, may be wondering why Kernel wants to get roasted, right? It is because we truly believe in receiving brutal feedback, learning from it, improving, and growing. And for startups, most of the times when they pitch to the VCs, to the customers, to the partners, they get a sugar coated feedback, which doesn't help at all. Kernel is one of the portfolio startups that we onboarded in July 2023, and they offer financial management solutions for SMEs in India and in South Asia. This is Pankaj Gupta from EthAum Venture Partners. We are a deep tech revenue accelerator and fund based out of Singapore with approximately 100 portfolio startups from different parts of the world, sectors, and stages. Today, we have very esteemed jury who is going to ask some really interesting questions. They are going to provide feedback, insights, guidance to Georgie and Becca on what could be the right strategies for Kernel in India. Now, I would request Georgie to do a brief intro of Kernel, probably 1 minute, and then I would move to the jury members. Georgie, please.
Hi, thanks for hosting us, and thanks for the jury for hopefully very interesting and challenging questions. The more challenging, the more exciting for us. So we looked at, when we were trying to do the startup, we looked at what we wanted to do because there are so many possibilities and the life is relatively limited. And we realized that we wanted to concentrate on the future. And the future is for the global south, for ascending world countries. And those countries generally have two problems. One is tax regulation reform that is hitting micro businesses and access to finance. Access to finance is so big that it is around $500 billion to $1 trillion problem just in India. And India is not unique. But we are starting with India because the timing is now. The stars have aligned because of the regulation and everything. And we believe that we can enable access to finance for $1 trillion market.
Fantastic, Georgie. I think that's a very good introduction. Vijay, may I request you to do an intro, please?
My name is Vijay Venkatesh. I run a ERP product company last 27 years in India. And this is for the same SMB segment, trying to compete with all the international players, large ERP, they are our competitors. That's a business we are into. We are a 100% remote company from last 4 years. And yeah, India is promising. What you rightly said, this is the right time.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks a lot, Vijay. Mihir, please.
Yeah, hi. I'm Mihir. I am the managing partner with SMB Catalyst. We are a management consulting firm focusing on small and medium businesses. We have been in the space for the last 10 years and would have consulted approximately 150 odd companies. We are primarily based out of Bombay, but we do have clients across various parts of the country. We have a team of around 40-45 people. Absolutely, there is insane demand for the small medium businesses in India for sure. There's no the possibility is infinite. But yeah, I mean, you need to your product has to have value, and the product has to fit the bill. I mean, because they are the most cost conscious entrepreneurs you'll ever come across with. So fantastic. Yeah, so looking forward.
Thanks a lot, Mihir. Really appreciate it. Piyush.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon. First of all, thanks for having me in this esteemed company, a group of people who are learned, and I also in turn wish to gain a lot. So talking about myself, I'm a career banker working for the last 24 years, and I work for all the leading private sector banks in the country, ICICI, HDFC, IndusInd, IDBI. And I've seen about 8 geographies across north and west of India. I've only I haven't gone to south and east. I've almost seen entire lengths and breadths of north and west of the country. Presently, I work for a startup called SMC Finance. We are into financing of SMEs, and these are basically big ticket size loans, which we call prime loans. And so these are unsecured as well as secured, both. Besides, we also fund NBFCs. We also fund medical equipment finance companies, customers. And we are also into gold loans. So that's the asset piece. On the liability side, we are into raising funds. We are into wealth management services. We are into bullion, handling business. So it's a 99. It's a very old company, but the startup is quite new. The finance part of it. So that's about it. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Piyush. Really appreciate your presence today. Arijit.
Hi, good afternoon, all of you. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I was just going through Kernel and I found it the business model to be interesting to explore. Myself, I am part of a contact center customer experience company. So this is the business that we are in. And interestingly, I heard SMC Finance, which is one of our customer also. So I am remotely connected to the finance world. Okay, so but the only connection I see is that I have been running a couple of startups in the past, so I can add value in that way. Otherwise, our contact center and customer experience solution is usually used by mid-market as well as enterprise customers. And we are rapidly entering into the newer geographies in Middle East and North America, having a good footing in the India market. So happy to be here, and let's discuss about Kernel.
Thank you, Arjit. Really appreciate it. Georgie, now it's your turn to share your screen. Talk more about Kernel and get roasted. Please unmute yourself. Yeah.
Cool. Let me share the screen. Okay, I'm gonna share the whole screen just so that it makes life easier. Okay. Oops.
Yep, you're on the right slide.
Cool. Visible?
Yep, please go ahead.
Yes, it is.
Okay, awesome. So hi. India is destined to be the third superpower in less than 5 years. But in order to achieve its destiny, there are a couple of problems that needs to be solved. And the superhero in the story are micro businesses. But we did not get here accidentally. There are 4 generational trends converging right now. So India is one of the youngest population in the world. It has almost 1 billion active internet users. It has almost 50% of every digital payment happening in the world is happening in India. And last but not least, Prime Minister Modi is driving a lot of economic reforms. Most of them are targeted toward MSMEs. But the story also has a villain. The villain is access to finance. If India is to achieve its $3 trillion to $5 trillion GDP transition, it needs access to finance for micro businesses. And the problem is very big. 86% of businesses never had a loan in India. The reason for this is mostly because of lack of data with which one can make a smart decision who to lend out and how much. And we believe that we are well situated to solve this problem because we come from a very small country in the Eastern Europe. But this country has gone through the same thing ourselves. We were almost a failed state before 2003. And after that, we had a Rose Revolution and a lot of reforms and things happened. And we witnessed it ourselves firsthand. And we participated in this, that how the tax reform first and on the tax reform foundation, how much the financial institutions have really grown. So much so that Georgian banks are almost exclusively always one of the top banks in Central and Eastern Europe. And we believe we have the chops to solve this problem. But ourselves, we can only do so much. So we can only create a demand so much, right? But the good thing is that the GST reform, as it happened in Georgia, it's happening in India, it's going to happen in almost all of the global South countries, is that the GST reform, which started, has been becoming stricter and stricter every year and affecting more and more people. This year it is affecting anybody who has more than 5 CR turnover, and next year it's going to come down to 1.5 CR and go even lower. For that, we created a solution that helps people to comply with this regulation, but we don't stop there because almost everyone is pen and paper on micro businesses. Once they comply with the solution, they have to digitize, and we help them not only just comply, but help them with accounts payables management, receivables management, inventory management, money management, etc., etc. And while doing this, we generate the data and we generate the trust and active users, which will be the key to solve this $500 billion problem. So we connect financial institutions to micro businesses, and we don't stop there. We are giving them scoring based on which the decision can be made. We already have patent pending partner on the AI side from the US that is coming on board with us to help us solve this problem together. In August, we saw a tremendous milestone hitting. So we have interesting partnerships and many more are coming already. I just can't share that because we are on live. We had a demo to conversion ratio at 51.8%, and we generated revenue by partnering with loan marketplaces. And we believe that the product is very crucial and useful and valuable for our partners, with which we already demonstrated increased customer engagement, increased customer retention, and so much more. And we believe that because we have OpenAI, which enables everybody to integrate with us relatively easily, we're super flexible, we can do white labeling and whatnot, we help them retain their customers where the market competition will become so much fierce. That's what is Kernel about, but India is just the beginning for us. We're solving the same problem all around Asia. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Georgie. Let's take some questions.
So I'm gonna stop sharing, and if we have questions, I'm happy to share again.
Yeah, Piyush, please.
Yeah. So I just wish to understand. This to me appears to be a software which actually is a combination of a lot of things. A tax solution, secondly, billing solution. Thirdly, you said that it's an interface between the SME and the financial institution, right? And perhaps one or two more things. Now, I just wish to understand that what will be the USP of Kernel, which will stand them apart from the existing players?
Great question. So to answer that question, I'll just come back to what I shared before. Because of the GST regulation, and because this is going to be affecting a lot of people, specifically for invoicing side, people will have to digitize or go bust. There is no other alternative. The worst they can do is that they can, if they don't use any solutions, they will have to go to GST.gov.in and apply for, submit the invoice right away. So because of that push, we believe that even without a standout product, it is a very ripe market. So that's one big push that we want to ride. But in terms of what our USPs are, we think that we understand the segment somewhat well, and we've created one of the simplest, because this is relatively low financial literacy, not as like high service, high maintenance kind of people, which need more enablement, this kind of stuff. For that, we believe that we created one of the simplest invoicing platform in the whole world, where everything we optimized as much. Again, we still have some ways to go, but we optimized a lot of things, which enables people to create invoices very easily. And the other thing that we've been working, and there are a couple of things that we already have, but I want to share a few features that we're working on, which is almost ready for production, is that in September at Global FinTech Fest, NPCI announced regarding next wave of inclusion, the UPI would be voice-assisted, voice-enabled payments. We've been working in the background, and we have we're close to having something that would be voice-enabled billing creation. So you would say to your software, create an invoice for Piyush for 5 chairs, and if you have your customers there, and if you have your products there, and you just have to be onboarded once, this is going to be done by voice.
So Georgie, are we assuming, sorry, I just started just like that. So are we assuming that people will have laptops or smartphones? And secondly, we are assuming that they wish to be a part of the GST wave. Why I'm saying so is the latter part. The GST piece still not a big chunk of economy does not accept it, and they still work in different parallel economy mode. So have we kind of checked that piece also, that what percentage of population is actually willing to become part of the GST system?
Very good question. So in terms of we have a web application and we have mobile application as well. And we believe this is the market where it's mobile first, if not mobile only. So we've optimized everything on the mobile. We also observed that the customers somehow prefer to have Chrome on phone instead of application. So we optimized that even harder. And in terms of the GST and the numbers, you're totally right. So roughly 15 million, 1.5 crore people are GST registered. And now after 5 CR to 1.5 CR push, it's going to include a bunch of people from that chunk. And then, as we know, this plan is to include way more people under invoicing regulation in the next upcoming few years. So that's what we want to target specifically. That's our, as a startup, we want to focus, because, you are accustomed to big numbers, but just to give a perspective, like the whole number of MSMEs in the EU is like 2 crores altogether. So we just we want to focus on that specific segment for now.
Okay, let's take, Piyush, sorry, Vijay, please go ahead.
Gorge, I have a very specific question. Is the problem what you are solving is to digitize the MSME or access to finance? Which one, or both?
Good question. So we have different value propositions for different stakeholders that we have. For the users, it is digitizing them. So that's the value proposition for them. As for the financial institutions, our value proposition is access to enabling this market, the untapped market.
All right. So my follow-up question here is, have you really thought about Tally, because you are going to play in the arena of Tally now, okay? Now, I think you have to really talk about Tally, because what is that Tally is not able to do today that you are going to do?
Very good question. Again, we have almost the same Tally in Georgia called just Oris. And in every country that we've explored, and we have users from more than 140 countries, we've not done extensive research on them. That is true. Usually there are a market leader accounting software that has been there for 20, 30 years. And that has a share of 70 to 80%, which is exactly true for Tally as well.
Okay.
What we've also observed, as the economy develops, accounting softwares are for accountants, obviously. And we are pre-accounting software or billing software, which is specifically targeted for micro business owners or salespeople or whatever. So Tally is relatively way more complicated than our software. And for business owners to operate them, especially from the mobile phone, is going to be very hard. So we're not competing Tally. We actually have integration with Tally. So anything that is done here, you can export this file and import in Tally. So we don't see Tally as a competitor. We see Tally as a partner.
Thank you. I think Mihir has a question.
Yeah, hi. So George, extending the question of what Piyush rightly asked. So even when I say you said the USP is you're trying to automate, digitize, use new age technologies to solve the problem. But if you look at it, the current tech space, we are in right now, insane amount of innovation, insane amount of work that is happening. There are tons and tons as we speak. I mean, at least I know 4 or 5 because I do keep on visiting different forums, and I know at least 4 or 5 who have already been working on this idea that you talk about. And if you look at the logical expansion for all the payment banks is to extend on this service offering, right? Or on the either side, extending on. So basically, let me just categorize the clientele, right? If you say MSME is a very large segment, right? I think for small business and medium business will want to go into ERP. My colleague here, Vijay, would agree that all medium-sized companies want to go into ERP and they want a full-blown solution, and I'm going to look at your product to solve the problem. And then creating apps is no more a problem. I mean, low code and no code has been that game, right? So everywhere user that can set on a PC and develop a code in no time. So I don't see that as a challenge, right? There's no barrier on that side. What I understand is your go-to market or your pace at which you're going to do is going to be the key and not anything else. Correct? Because so my question to you, George, is particular is that I don't see anywhere the pace at which you want to grow in any of your presentation. There is no visibility on how you're going to compete, because, for example, if let's say I'm with Paytm today, or I'm with PhonePe as a user, right, and I'm doing all my UPI transactions, PhonePe comes and gives me another app on the same app as an extension to do my billing software of what you're talking about, a low entry level billing software. That's what you're talking about, right? You are not needed. I mean, and you will not be able to compete with them. I mean, I see a genuine, huge challenge in terms of the scale at which you want to grow, or you scale overnight, or you so that you can get acquired, or you perish. That's the way I see this as of now, right? That's a very honest feedback on this.
Okay, noted.
Rijit, please go ahead.
Yeah. Is there a revenue model or something that you can share? Because it's not very clear what is your ARPU and what kind of acquisition cost that you will have in acquiring these clients.
Okay, cool. So let me start with the acquisition stuff first, and then on the monetization side of things. Obviously, we're live stream, so I'm not going to share very extensive details. So some conversation we can have on the sites as well. But so to give you a rough understanding, is our go-to-market strategy basically consists of two sides. One is direct to customer, where we have already been working on this and we have some great results. Again, very competitive to the market leaders in our category. I'm talking about our category only. I'm not talking about the tallies and the margs and books, like the pre-accounting softwares. So that's one where we try to acquire as many customers, and we believe that because of the regulation, because of the push, the cost of customer acquisition, active user acquisition, will go even lower. The other way that we try to do is that the other strategies that we see is exactly as Mir was saying. We were looking at the partnerships, strategic partnerships. So again, it takes you cannot just meet somebody today and like, oh, hey, you just access my 50 crore people right away. So that's sadly not how it went for us. But the partnership is another. So we have already two partners. Echo is one of them, and the India SME Forum is another one, which we can share. And we are working with a couple of, some of them are unicorns. Some of them hopefully will be soon unicorns. And even the payment aggregators, as Mir said. So they can, and Razorpay has acquired, not exactly like us, but some kind of ERP thing. But we see that other aggregators are looking at it. This is actually a catalyst for us, because other people, we now have some inbound interest from payment aggregators. And we also, to share examples outside of India, what I've seen, I may not have enough experience in India so far, but outside of India, again, financial institutions and accounting and auditing firms are the ones who are partnering with this kind of softwares. Again, we're not doing something that, billing and accounting has been there for forever, right? So it's not like, oh, like this is a new category, like pen and paper, you invented, like we're not invented pen and paper, sadly. We wish them. But when we look at our distant cousins from the West and how they went through this, is that financial institutions are very motivated. So would it be payment aggregators, NBFCs, MFIs? Those are the ones, especially the ones that have low digital capabilities. They feel like they cannot do it themselves. As Mir says, like some of them will be like, I'm going to build it myself overnight. Well, the solution is complicated and takes a bit of time, and then you need maintenance, etc., etc. So once you sit down with people who are about to do that, they have this thing. So partnership is our go-to-market strategy. As for the monetization part, but in the partnerships, it should be only strategic partnership, not just random partnerships. This is what we believe in. It needs to be win-win-win for everyone, for customer, for partners, for us. In terms of the monetization part strategy, we look at a couple of, we have 4-pronged strategy. Our end game, where we believe we can provide the most value to everyone, would be scoring. So scoring on the alternative data, the data that's going to be proprietary for us, right? So every user, I'm sorry for going into too much details. I've been told to assume like not much when talking to people, like not assume that they've been in the whatever industry. So I'm just explaining like a 5-year-old. So don't treat this as a it's just the nature of the way that I speak, right? So scoring is our biggest thing, where we think that we will have proprietary data. And this is a solution that some people will not use 2 or 3 things, right? You may have Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, but you won't use our software and another. Like, you won't create tax invoices in 5 different softwares. It's not a fun thing to do. So scoring is one-pronged strategy. Then we want to monetize by usage-based pricing, and we want to monetize by being a marketplace for loans versus these things. And then there are a couple of other ways that we're looking at. So I
will just put another question. Is that you are targeting the MSME segment, which is very, very price sensitive. Okay.
Yes.
And convenience, if you give convenience to price, they may choose price first instead of convenience. So for example, GST portal is there. So if I say, okay, I'll take some more time to upload my invoice to GST portal, I may rather do it rather than getting into a paid model, subscription model. So have you considered this as a premium or something that you will go for, or how will you manage this?
Very good question. That's exactly, again, some people tell me like, oh, India is very unique. I mean, India is very unique to me because I love Indian food and culture and people, but it does not make India unique in other ways, right? So micro businesses everywhere in the world are very price sensitive. So we have a strategy. So one thing that I can share publicly, at least, is that with the partners, we are offering them some free tier premium kind of solution, which covers basic needs for them. And then if they want some premium features, then we're monetizing that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we definitely understand that really, like, we experimented a lot and we see how much price sensitive it is, like extremely price sensitive. So we felt that.
Here has a question.
How long does it take to onboard? Go ahead.
No, Vijay, please.
How long does it take for you to onboard a customer? Let's say some 5 crore and above customer comes up with some 1,000 SKUs, some 500 customers, kind of a detail. How long does it take for you to onboard them and take them live?
Okay. So again, without going too much details on air, we are targeting micro businesses more. So our ICP is 5 CR and less. So while we have a couple of customers who have like 7 CAs under their management, we're not targeting them necessarily. So we're targeting smaller people. And usually what we have seen is that it takes roughly 2 calls to activate persons. So on one call, you give them demo, you explain what they need to prepare. And on the next one, they have this prepared, and we just help them upload these things and help them create first invoices. And then it is so simple, they do it themselves usually. So it takes 2 calls roughly.
Okay.
Sometimes it's 1 call, but sometimes 2 calls.
To add on top of that is what has worked really well for us is the import functionality. So that's been in the software forever already, that anybody is able to upload the list of their customers, their products, their parties, whether it's vendors, whether it's customers. So that's relatively simple. And usually on the second call that our customer success is making, they're onboarding people. So if there's a client, let's say, that's not usually the case, but if there's a customer who has multiple SKUs or has multiple clients or whatever, then they're able to just upload it through an Excel worksheet, and then it's reflected in the application.
Okay.
Thanks, Becca, for adding. Mihir?
Yeah, the 2 questions, Georgie and Becca. The first being, I think that recently the personal data law protection bill was passed in India, right? And it's going to be very difficult to monetize the data the way it used to be way earlier. So I think I understand one of your strategy being, to monetize that by trying to get this information, but you'll have to be very sure about, how you're using the data and you're getting the thing. That's point 1. The second thing, have you done any assessment of, because I do know there are tons and tons of this entry-level pre-accounting softwares. I would tag this as a pre-accounting software if I understand it right. There are insane number of pre-accounting software that I have seen already, because unfortunately, because of the business I am in, I do interact and end up talking to a lot of people. and there are tons and tons of them, right? I mean, what you will have to definitely look at when you're evaluating this idea is trying to do too many things. You're trying to be a pre-accounting software because you want to get entry to the foot door. Then you want to be a licening for getting the loans and easing it out. And in the process, trying to figure out all the things, right? And all that in a small pace of time. So I think, you're still spreading thin for the focus that this needs to scale. I think that definitely looks missing in the conversation so far. So two things. One thing is absolutely look at the regulatory and the legal affairs in terms of the data protection laws and all. And the second thing, definitely, I don't see any clarity on the fact that where you want to put in focus in, because I think you're just trying to do. See, the speed is the key. That's what I see here, right? The moment you acquire more customers at a pace that is insane, that's going to give you the added advantage for you to be a valuable player in the trade, right? Otherwise, that are just done them, because it's not going to be a difficult space to be in. So I feel these are two things that I don't see clear. Maybe you would have, but in the presentation so far, I don't see these two things missing.
Yeah, I agree. Actually, as a fun fact, I keep forgetting what the Basel BIS SIB. Becca, help me out with that. Who is the body that's doing Basel standards?
Yeah, Bank for International Settlements, BIS, that is providing
the BIS
guidance
standards,
for central banks.
BIS has said for the last 2 consecutive years that India is the way to go in terms of regulations. Like it's gathered a bunch of banks from around the world. And it's like, look at the India, especially like DPDP is the way to go forward. So I've definitely looked at the DPDP, and I do agree. There are a lot of things. But at the end of the day, for me, again, 100% agree what you said. I should have said some things a bit more clearly. Some things I need to work on, and we need to clarify and focus, which is the sense of what you said. Like if we try to be everything for everyone, we're going to be no one we're going to be nothing for no one, right? So that's not the good place to be. So I completely agree. Those are very valid points. We are aware of them. And thank you so much, because I 100% agree on them, and we've thought about them for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I just wish to know more about how you are going to reach out to your target audience. What's going to be the modus operandi? Because why I'm asking you this question is that the target segment that we are discussing right now will not be that much literate, or will not be that much tech savvy. And so our digital marketing strategies, obviously, you must have provision for. I mean, those are not going to work. Secondly, when we say that India is unique, I'll tell you how India is unique. See, we Indians, though we are leaders in IT innovations, etc., but we still are touch and feel people. The major part of loans that happen in India are still not digital. There are intermediaries whom we call DSAs, which are a bridge between the customer and the financial institution. They are localites, they are in touch with them, they speak their language, they understand their issues, they have the credibility also, which perhaps me as an organization won't have. And so those actually become very effective in churning of the customers. So please delve more onto these things if you can.
Sure. So as for the go-to-market strategy, digital is our one thing that we are going to do for sure, because that's like easiest, lowest hanging fruit, right? So if you have direct communication with your customer, that's, you have them more active, way more, and then the lifetime value increases, etc., etc. The other way is like the partnership. So we don't think that we have enough time to, as Mir said, like we don't have enough time, because the regulation is going to hit in 2-3 years time window. So after like converting somebody from pen and paper, because of the regulation, is so much simpler when the regulation is pushing. Whereas if somebody is using like something and they have chartered accountant them like internally, then converting them is hard. So we don't want to build everything ourselves, and we think we're reaching out to strategic partnerships. So that's our second way of things. So we don't have enough time to do a lot of things. Those two are going to be our pillars of stuff. As for the second part about the trust and things, so I experienced Indian hospitality myself many times. And I was like the biryani was coming out of my eyes, and I could not eat anymore. But they were still offended. Like, you stopped eating now. You have like there are a whole kitchen left to eat. I'm like, okay, I'm a very small. You can't see me, but I'm not that big of a guy. I'm maybe big in my heart, but not that big in the body frame, right? So that has been the true for Georgia as well. We are very. You have a saying. We have a saying in Georgia: "A guest is from God." So Georgia was also very high human touch factor, and that is true for every. I mean, we've talked to people like from Latin America to like Philippines, like everywhere in between, and that's true for everyone. But what we have observed by looking at the countries that have been developing faster and faster, and is maybe a bit ahead of the curve, is that if you want to unlock the scale, sadly, and I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, sadly, the social fabric is tearing apart. Sadly, the digital world and the tech is eating this away. While right now, you're 100% right. This stuff is going to be shifting more and more towards like children looking at their Facebook and Instagram things instead of eating dinner with the parents. But so while that is happening, where we come in, we believe we want to come in at least, is that we do not want to be the solicitor of the loan. Most importantly, we just want to be there for financial institutions to drive their cost of risk down. That's where we come in. That's what our main value proposition should be for the financial institutions.
Mihir, please go ahead.
Yeah. So, Georgie, sorry, I've been asking a lot of questions and said, but
no. Thank you for asking a lot of questions, and that's why we're here. Like,
yeah,
please,
yeah, sure. So basically, if I look at micro enterprises, we categorize that one way of categorizing is by saying that it's B2B or B2C, correct? Now, if I look at the B2C market, that is pretty much broadly solved by the Paytm, the payment banks as we speak, right? Could be FinPin and everything, and it's sorted. And I don't see like Bharat has gone to the extent of giving them working capital to all the shopkeepers and things like that, right? That's the operating model, right? So I don't think we're going to solving any problem there. We're talking about B2B, again, in micro enterprises, a lot of them are in informal sectors, right? And they continue to do so. And they'll continue to do for perpetuity, even though the regulation is going to go tighter and all, because that's what makes them, tax efficient, not to pay taxes. And, I'm talking about any Thela or Panwala or anyone from that matter, right? And other people who will be supplying to this Thelas and the Panwalas, the made suppliers and distributors, unless until the parent company who's supplying the metal to them forces them to be getting onto the trade. But in that cases also for the B2B, I've seen that the parent companies or the parent distributors or wholesalers who are providing this to them are taking care of the finances downstairs, right? I mean, they are taking care of the working capital by giving them the money that is needed, by giving them and that's why they exist, right? I mean, today, ideally, the manufacturer should talk to the customer. The reason we have this middle tier is because to handle the working capital, and that's how it's managed, and that's how it's successfully been managed for a long time. So I mean, you also have to evaluate actually what your market size is and what you're trying to solve as we're trying to solve. So again, that also opens up a question of identifying a true market size, which again is not very clear, or maybe for reasons you're not presenting it on the presentation today, but I'm not able to see that too.
Yep. Now, that is very right.
I have one suggestion. Maybe you guys may explore it or already explored. See, one is the application that you are building. Okay, is completely new. Okay, and most of the MSME segment, not MSME, all the segments are very conversant of existing applications. So, for example, if I say about WhatsApp, okay, and WhatsApp is by default one of the most used application, okay, on the mobile phone. So why not build something over WhatsApp so that the user adoption becomes easy, and they do not have to figure out where is the app and how to install it. Have you guys thought something like that, some common app which customers are already using, and build on to that?
Yes, actually, WhatsApp thing is something that we've been exploring very actively. And because there has been some great developments in India, like that's definitely in our roadmap for sure. But it's just like, again, focus. Like even just building this billing software is very complex. You need to cover a lot of things. And to come back to the Mir's point, you're absolutely right. On the B2C side of things, usually people have some kind of operational tool, which most likely provides invoicing. That's how it is around the world. It's not like we're not doing something. There are a couple of instances where people want to integrate because they don't want to do the tax compliance stuff, etc., which is fine. We're open. We have APIs, etc. But that's not our target for sure. And obviously, what Arjit said is like, instead of forcing people to come to us, why not we come where the people are?
Georgie, extending to the question of, just Arijit's point, basically right now, if you see one of the successful model here in India for the regulatory thing is clear tax, right? And the clear tax has been able to get a lot of headway on the fact because they are way ahead of the curve in terms of getting your compliances, especially from the GST and invoicing and other things that are needed. And they're the first player to go live, right? Way before even Tally to that matter is ready for that. And I think that's what their advantage has been. And there has been an insane amount of adoption on that side. But I think, what works for them is the focus. Right? They are just saying that we want to be the player to make your life easy on it. Correct. And I know it takes a lot of effort. And even for a company like Tele, it takes a lot of time and energy to be able to ready for the regulation the way it has to be. Correct. And I don't know how many resources and you will be able to align, be ready. And if that's going to be your USP, you will also have to look at from that perspective, the investment and the energy and the amount of money that you have to do. And if you want to, I think you don't want to target only India, right? I mean, you want to go multi-country, right? So then multiply that by the number of countries and the regulations. So you will have to see the way in terms of the ROI, in terms of the cost of getting ready versus the scale versus the investment. So that's a challenge because right now clear tax has insanely increased their prices. They're losing customers, but they're happy with it because they know there's a cost to it, right? Which did not understand earlier. So right from, I think 4,000, 5,000 as a minimum yearly thing, they went to 40,000 for a mid-sized company and small size companies. So they had to, because that's what the cost involved there was. So I don't know how much have you factored that in, but that's critical too.
Yeah, that I actually met their head of product, Arpit Mehta, and
okay, you met Arpit.
Yeah, so I've met him a couple of times actually already, and we expressed a lot of things and we shared a lot of things. Obviously, very interesting stuff. And again, you have a very good point on that, and that is something that we are factoring in, that we do not want to be a solution like the way the problem is the Tally and clear tax, in my opinion. Again, who am I to judge? Like, they're very successful companies. Like, who am I to say they have a problem? But the different approach that we would take, and we are taking, is that instead of focusing for enabling 100% of all the things that could happen, if we just eliminate Pareto principle, if we can eliminate 20% of people, streamline everything, like make stuff 80% more efficient, we are fine with that.
Yeah. Okay.
And Georgie, since you told about that you have been meeting the guys from ClearTax and all that, I think you can actually make one matrix to find out when GST was introduced from 2017. I think there are about some 18-20 GSPs were there. Now there are about 45 GSPs are there, 45-50 guys are there. Just find out how many people are profitable today.
Yep.
Okay. Now all the people came with the same idea that all the people are going to make. I will start making so much per invoice. All that stuff they tried. I think none of that has really worked in Indian market. So probably that is because since you're also going to play the volume game and in the SMB segment, this is something you can keep this in mind. Because when you're talking about 5 crore and above is going, we are now talking about they are very organized sector. They'll be using Tally. And you are talking about 5 crore and below, you're going to focus. So probably this is one pointer you can find out how many GSPs are profitable only in the GSP business alone, right? Invoice integration alone, that will give some kind of an idea. So you can do this, analysis just to find out. Yeah.
We we've not done analysis on all 45 of GSPs, but the difference between us versus the Indian market is we are trying to base our things, what has been already successful in the other markets, directionally. Again, no, the same things won't apply. Okay, RJ, thank you so much for providing feedback. So thank you everyone for that matter. Like, it has been very valuable. It has been very, you come from the other country, you think you're clever, and you come face to face with reality, and it strikes very painfully. So thanks for the in advance heads up for a lot of things. Just to come back to the point that you made, we are somewhat aware. I'm not going to claim that we're well aware of everything in India. Like, no, I'm well aware of food. Like, if you want to ask me anything on the food, I'm happy to provide. I have like 20 spices. Every time somebody comes from India, I ask them to bring me some like sugar cane and like a lot of things. But we won't claim that we're experts in this kind of things. But what we have done is like we analyzed how the countries develop, and when they develop, what is happening, which business models are relevant at what points of at what stages of the country development, and how does it end. So if you want to say, you can say that we've seen the spoilers, how this ends, kind of things, and we're positioning where it's gonna end and how other people are successful and other people are making a lot of money, and that's definitely not being a GSP for us. That's like, we may have to do stuff, but that's not where we want to make money for sure. Yeah. But they're very valuable. So we made the mistake of thinking like, oh, B2B SaaS, like let's just monetize them like clear tax, like there seems to be unicorn. And like when you look at the data, like, oh, maybe we need to think about something else. So we've been closely researching our distant cousins from the West, and how they started, and what the foothold they found. And not everything is relatable to India, obviously, because like you have UPI, which is an amazing thing, right? So you cannot make a lot of money out of payment transactions, which some people do. So, for example, we have payment gateway in, not that we're payment gateway, but we partnered with payment gateway in Philippines. And we're making some cut out of that. That's the whole cut of the whole industry in India. So we cannot apply that to India for sure.
Correct.
Okay. Georgie, I need to rush. Wish you all the very best. May your enthusiasm translate into a very successful business venture. All the best, Pekka. And thank you, everyone. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Yes. Any last feedback from Vijay, Piyush before we?
Yeah, I just have very interesting quote from Uday Kotak. He happens to be MD CEO of one of the biggest banks in the country, Kotak Mahindra Bank. Uday Kotak. So someone asked him, what's the biggest threat to the banks that you see right now? And he says that the biggest threat to the banks right now is that they are not changing, they are not getting into transactional banking. And what he meant by that was that he says that banks still are playing only one role of taking deposits and giving loans. Till the time they get into electricity bill payment, credit card, this, that, routine payments, the way Paytm has succeeded, he says that they will be marginalized. I mean, to an extent that the number of transactions that is happening through Paytm is becoming a threat to all the other banks right now, the way they are, grabbing. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that, we will have to really become something like Paytm, in the sense that I'm not trying to compare yourself with that organization, but it has integrated everything virtually, on one platform, right from an airline ticket to buying a small rubber or pencil, from a provisional grocery store. So, and at no cost, almost no cost. So that's how, they have simplified, and their reach is to the tier 3, tier 4 cities now. I mean, even a vendor who doesn't have a proper place to sit has got a scanner on his mobile, or maybe a physical scanner, and people do a transaction as small as 1 rupee or a 2 rupee kind of thing. So that's India. That's because they are so price conscious, these Indians, and they are extremely touch and feel people. So these are the only things I thought I should just try and share with you.
I completely agree. I can't really say much about that. That is something that we need to be aware of. We just believe that this is, it's all about possibilities and opportunities. Startup is not like doing lifestyle business, like being a, cutting hair and being a barbershop. This is like, can you become really big? And this is something for us that means much more than just like success for us is defined differently. For me, at least, like, let me share from my perspective so that I don't overstep on Becca, but like, I believe that the way forward for the humanity is going to be that the global south or ascending countries are the part of the system, the same equal part of the system, because they come from the harder background. Like, you may think that I come from Europe, and that is true, but I come through 3 wars myself. So I've been through 3 wars myself. So don't think that I've not come through hardships. I've been there, that I did not know what I could eat at the end of the evening, and I had to dress up to go to bed. And I think that nobody deserves to be in that place. And not only that, if and when India, because India is just a driver for me, and a country that close to my heart, even when they succeed and the micro businesses succeed and they unlock and they don't spend time on the bullshit things, sorry for the expression, then the whole world will benefit so much from this. Like the cost of like quality of life, the cost of things, especially, again, I may touch a sensitive topic, well, especially as the China is going rogue and we need other countries to ascend. I think India is the best bet to make. And if we have some percentage of chance to put a brick in building the wall, what is India, that's a very good way of living your life, in our opinion. So whether we are successful, how big we're going to be, whatever, that's secondary. If we make the world a better place, that's what matters for us most. And we want to devote our life. Like, I have 4 children. I'm happy to spend a lot of my time, not on them, but on the development of the humankind, which I believe starts the biggest ROI on development of this is going to be spending time on India. So that's where we come from.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I have no questions. All the best, Georgie.
Yeah, to you as well. Like, we're all building the future of humanity, so we're all part of this thing one way or another.
True.
Best wishes, guys. Really wish you
Thank you.
Thank others out.
Thanks a lot, Pankaj, for this opportunity.
Thank you.
So,
Thanks a lot.
Becca,
Thank you very much.
Georgie, all the best for both of you.
Thank you very much.
Really
Right
appreciate
on.
your time.
Right
And
on.
hopefully we should
Bye.
reconnect in the next few days to see how we can collaborate.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll follow separately on LinkedIn or something, and then maybe
For
we
sure.
can.
For sure.
Will do.
Anytime.
Will do.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Bye. Thanks.